In the mid-1990s, Simpsons creator Matt Groening was approached by the Fox network to create another animated series in the vein of his initial success. Groening would enlist Simpsons staff writer David Cohen to assist on the pitch, as the two had bonded over their mutual love of sci-fi, with Groening pointing out that he didn't like how most futuristic sci-fi tended to be 100% one way, like Star Trek in a utopia, or 100% the other way, like Mad Max in a dystopia. After settling on doing a futuristic comedy, they kicked around such titles as Aloha Mars and Doomsville before settling on Futurama, a reference to a pavilion at the 1939 World's Fair. The series would revolve around Philip J. Fry, a pizza delivery boy who, after a mishap at a cryogenic facility, found himself in the city of New York on the verge of the year 3000. Along the way, Fry would encounter Turanga Leela, a one-eyed alien who was later revealed to be a member of a race of subterranean mutants. Fry also encountered Bender Bending Rodriguez, a wisecracking alcohol-powered bending robot with a proclivity for mischief. The trio would go on to visit Mars University professor and research scientist Hubert J. Farnsworth, Fry's distant nephew. Farnsworth would hire the trio for his cosmic delivery service Planet Express, where they would replace a crew that had been killed harvesting honey from a nest of space wasps. Viewers would also be introduced to the business's manager and former Olympian limboer Hermes Comrade, Amy Wong, a graduate student from Mars University turned intern, and John Zoidberg, a humanoid crustacean doctor who harbored dreams of being a comedian, though he really stinks at being both a comedian and a doctor. Futurama would premiere on March 28, 1999, and garner enough viewers during its initial season to warrant a second season, where it would be moved to what Groening felt would be a much more desirable time slot at Sundays at 8:30 after The Simpsons. Unfortunately, that's where things began to fall apart. Going into January of 2000, the series would go on a brief hiatus to make way for a new show called Malcolm in the Middle. It was always intended for Futurama to come back, however Malcolm proved to be a much bigger hit and also much cheaper to produce. This resulted in Futurama getting placed at 6 o'clock Eastern on Sundays, where invariably it would get preempted by one of three things: Major League Baseball, the National Football League, and NASCAR auto racing. Futurama would peter through the next few seasons before finally coming to an end in 2003. However, something funny happened along the way. In late 2002, Cartoon Network would acquire syndication rights to Futurama, where it would air as part of the Adult Swim programming block. Now having a regularly scheduled airtime for the show allowed fans who had failed to keep up the first time around to enjoy it on a regular basis. This, coupled with the mega success of DVD box sets being released, caused a revival of the series via 4 direct-to-DVD movies and then 3 more seasons on Comedy Central. I know what you're thinking, and yes, this does eerily parallel the bizarre circumstances surrounding another Fox animated television series, Family Guy. Getting back to Futurama, there would also be Futurama comics published by Matt Groening's own Boggo Comics that also produced The Simpsons comics. The series would come out bi-monthly starting in November of 2000. Today, we're looking at the first 4 issues of the Futurama comics. This is Futurama-O-Rama. Good news, everyone! The professor has a new job that doesn't need the crew going into space. He needs a hole dug in the Planet Express basement deep enough to hide his Galactic Terminatrix 3000 after it accidentally blew up one of Saturn's moons. Fry, Leela, and Bender set to work powering up the laser pickaxe and motorized motor shovels. Fry and Bender immediately want to give up after a minute, but before they can do so, Fry's shovel strikes something. Investigation turns up a Partridge Family lunchbox containing such items like a newspaper from the 3 Mile Island disaster, a copy of Valley of the Dolls on Betamax, and an 8-track tape of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. It's a time capsule from 1979, and everyone except Fry is unimpressed and begins wandering off. Fry fritters away the afternoon, ingesting old Kool-Aid packets and flipping through the rapidly disintegrating comic books from the time capsule. It's then that he happens across an ad for Sea Monkeys. Fry always wanted Sea Monkeys, and the company is still open in New York. All he needs is $1, which Zoidberg gleefully supplies. Fry, Bender, and Leela go to the warehouse for mail-away comic book items to purchase Sea Monkeys, and for Bender to try on X-ray specs that apparently actually work. Fry then shows the rest of the Planet Express the awesomeness of Sea Monkeys, only to wind up being disappointed by the fact that they're nothing like they are in the advertisement. Distraught, Fry dumps the Sea Monkeys in a vat of gamma waste, where the professor assures him nothing will happen to them. The next day, Zoidberg announces that he's found the Sea Monkeys alive and quintupled in size and still growing. While the professor works on a cure, Zoidberg spends the rest of his day playing with his newfound friends. Well, Sea Monkeys are just freeze-dried brine shrimp after all. The next day, Zoidberg awakens to find the now gigantic sea monkeys terrorizing New York. The professor puts the finishing touches on a deradiation gun, and the crew prepares to take off, despite Zoidberg's objections, to the point that he even threatens going on a hunger strike in order to protect his friends. Since Zoidberg doesn't eat anyway, the crew just ignore this. The gun doesn't work, and the Planet Express ship is destroyed, with Fry falling into the clutches of one of the sea monkeys. Bender lands near Zoidberg, who is rummaging through the garbage for food, even though he's still technically on a hunger strike. The two then notice the sea monkeys ad, which promises a money-back guarantee. The two place a call to the warehouse as Fry continues to avoid trying to be eaten. The owner of the warehouse shows up with a gamma radiation cure, as this is apparently a common occurrence. The sea monkeys are soon put down, and Zoidberg is refunded his $1, even though he technically owes Bender $10 for the collect call to the warehouse. The Planet Express staff are then called to City Hall, where they are billed $10,000 for sea monkey disposal. With no way to pay the bill, the crew has no other choice but to feed the sea monkeys to Zoidberg, who happily eats his old friends and ends his hunger strike in favor of having real food.
This has been brought to you by Glidenar's Human Rides. It's a bunch of muncha cruncha humans.
Good news, everyone! Planet Express has won an award from one of the prominent New York magazines. The award is for Best Delivery Service available on weekends and holidays, as they were the only entry. Unfortunately, all celebrations are cut short by Nibbler devouring the cake, the plates, and Fry's t-shirt.
Nibbler is a creature that was discovered by Leela on a planet that was slowly crumbling. He has a ravenous appetite that really gets on the nerves of the other co-workers at Planet Express. The only reason he's kept around, really, is because he actually defecates dark matter, which is highly expensive rocket fuel that enables the Planet Express ship to travel at near light speed. And yeah, I do know that there's an ulterior motive for Nibbler being on the show, but I'm trying not to spoil everything here.
Things begin to look up as two new customers come in directly because of the placement in the magazine. Their names are Lucy and Ricky, two names Fry immediately recognizes as being from the Bible, and they need transport along with a container of their homeworld's most treasured items. The Planet Express ship takes off, with Lucy and Ricky having to take in Bender's terrible karaoke. Lucy and Ricky begin badgering Leela with questions about the Planet Express services and the secrets behind it. She has Bender give them a tour of the ship, including the morgue and the jungle room. All of this gets interrupted by the sudden appearance by robotic space pirates from the Sea of Tranquility. Lucy and Ricky begin to look nervous as Leela refuses to allow either Long John Silicon or Blackboard the Pirate to take the couple's package. However, Leela takes the pirates down with a set of brass knuckles that secretly contain a trio of buzzsaws. Fry then finishes them off with a phaser blast. Everyone celebrates as the pirates are tied up over on their own ship. It's then that Lucy and Ricky reveal their true colors. The two are really UPS salons from the planet FedEx 12, where delivery service rules as king. Their planet has long been jealous of Planet Express's success, and the two are set to find the secret and take it by force. They have decided that the secret to the Planet Express success is its crew. Fry, Leela, and Bender are then taken to FedEx 12, where they are immediately sentenced to death. However, Bender has a little secret inside his body. Nibbler, who was secretly stowing away the whole time. Nibbler frees the crew and begins chowing down on the UPS salons.
Remember to call Robo-Rooter when you flush a towel. They can also help with your impacted bowel. Robo-Rooter.
Good news, everyone! The Planet Express crew has arrived at the galaxy's preeminent flea market. Bender immediately begins looking to get an autograph from All My Circuit star Calculon. Restraining order be damned. Meanwhile, Fry and Amy go looking for vintage apparel. Bender gets kicked out of the queue for Calculon after soliciting the actor, and winds up encountering a vendor who is in possession of Calculon's Space Emmy. Hearing of an apparent opportunity to steal for money piques Bender's interests. Meanwhile, Leela and Zoidberg have made their way over to a stand selling newbies, adorable creatures that exist solely for the purpose of being collected. Leela expresses interest in one called a Warmuff when someone else also shows up, Inez Wong.
Leo and Inez Wong are Amy's obscenely wealthy parents who actually own the entire western hemisphere of Mars, which they use as a ranch to raise creatures called Buggalo. The two are constantly pressuring Amy to get married and begin having grandchildren, and this has led Amy to rebel by wearing her, activewear jumpsuit rather than, say, high fashion more besuited to someone of her financial stature, and leading a somewhat promiscuous lifestyle in the early parts of the series. Though Amy did pledge the Mars University sorority of Kappa Kappa Wong.
Inez purchases the Warmuff and offers to assist Leela and Zoidberg on getting started in the newbie collecting craze. She buys each of them a low-level newbie and invites them to a collector's meeting at the Wong Ranch. Leela and Zoidberg arrive at the Wong estate with their newbies in tow, Zoidberg having ruined the collector's value of his by taking it out of the box and playing with it, so it's now lost part of its hair and it's really mangy and flea-bitten. He doesn't care as he's just there for the free food. Inez then shows off her collection, which is only 2 away from a complete set. Leela realizes that this whole soiree was so Inez could just gloat to the others and vows to prevent the trillionaires from completing the collection. Meanwhile, various things have been vanishing from the Planet Express office, like Fry's jacket and Hermes' hair. It's then that a delivery job comes in, with Bender volunteering to stay behind and catch the thief, which shouldn't be too hard. However, it turns out that Bender also stole the ship's autopilot computer, forcing Fry and Leela to pull over to a nearby bazaar. It's then that the two happen across the stolen items at a stand run by Randy, the man Bender had met earlier, and a disguised Bender, which fools Fry. Leela then makes her way over to a stand run by two hippie aliens who are selling one of the missing newbies Inez needs for her collection. However, the two hippies buckle when Inez offers triple what Leela offered. Leela is once more thwarted. Fry and Leela then return to the ship, where they receive an urgent message from the professor. Zoidberg had the two newbies out of their packaging when suddenly they merged into one being. A genetic scan revealed the truth. Newbies were created to merge together and destroy whatever planet on, allowing the corporate overlords who created the newbies to swoop in and take over. Realizing what would happen when Inez completed her collection, Fry and Leela take off to the Stoker Sector planet of Nosferatu 4, where the missing newbie that she needs is being sold. They arrived too late, but so did Inez, who was beaten out by Zoidberg. It turns out that Zoidberg has a more valuable currency in the Stoker Sector than money: siphoned human blood. The Planet Express crew take Inez back to Earth, where they demonstrate the newbie merging. Satisfied, Inez vows to move on and start a new collection. Grandchildren! And she begins sounding Amy once more.
Yo soy muy malo en lanzar, pero yo soy en comer frijoles. Come los bimbe frijoles, los frijoles de los reas.
Good news, everyone! Planet Express is visited by President Glab of the Democratic Order of Planets and Lieutenant Kif Croker. The two are there to talk to Leela about Zap Brannigan, who has gone missing on the planet of Da Nang 4.
Zap Brannigan is the 25-star General Major Webelow Commodore 64 captain of the Nimbus, the flagship of the Democratic Order of Planets, or DOOP. Now, Zap is a oafish, warmongering lout with little regard for anyone's safety except for that of himself. And yet somehow Leela, against her better judgment, had a one-night stand with Zap when he first encountered the Planet Express crew. This has led Zap to remain convinced that Leela secretly lusts after him, despite her repeated physical rejections being to the contrary. Now, obviously, Zap is a pastiche on William Shatner, basically taking someone with the accolades of the fictional character of James T. Kirk and giving him Shatner's notorious diva personality. Zap was originally going to be voiced by Phil Hartman, who sadly passed away before any recordings could be made. Now, Zap's beleaguered assistant is Kif Croker, who is only saving grace is his burgeoning relationship with Amy Wong, which plays out throughout the rest of the Futurama series.
Shortly after he disappeared, Zap sent a message back requesting that Leela be brought back to Da Nang 4 to rule alongside him as queen. The Dupe forces want to use Leela as bait to help rescue Zap, who they believe to be under the influence of some type of hallucinogen. Leela refuses, but Professor Farnworth has already accepted a generous advance from the Democratic Order of Planets president. While Leela is taken to the meeting coordinates sent by Zap, Fry and Bender wait behind on the ship. That is until a new emergency arises. Bender runs out of booze. The two are forced to sneak into the Dupe camp on Da Nang 4. They hit the mess hall, the officers' club, and the video arcade, but turn up nothing. With no other choice, Bender stages an accident so he can raid the first aid tent of their rubbing alcohol. Meanwhile, Kif and Leela reach the temple, where a more than usually bloated Zap Brannigan is being worshipped as a king by the Danangians. Before anything else can happen, Zap is taken away for treatment after eating a bizarre combination of fish and some type of stink bugs. That night, Leela tries to seduce Zap and then knock him out, but he eschews sex for sleep time in some type of hyperbaric chamber before being taken away for another treatment, which arouses Leela's suspicions. Simultaneously to Leela snooping around the Danangian village, a Danangian soldier stumbles into the Dupe camp, where they fill Fry and Bender in on the truth, which Leela discovers at the same time. Zap has been impregnated with Danangians, who will hatch out ready to fight in the Dupe camp. Leela and Kif grab Zap and try to escape with the Danangians in hot pursuit. They run into Fry, Bender, and the Dupe forces along the way. The Planet Express crew, along with Zap and Kif, make it to the ship and head back to Earth. Once back on Earth, Zoidberg delivers Zap's babies via painful C-section, where he rejoices over having food once more.
And so concludes Futurama-O-Rama. How was it? Well, I really enjoyed this. Each of these stories in here really feel like they could have just been episodes of the television series. And there's decent enough artwork. The characters all look on model. They don't seem to be off in any way. The interaction between all the characters and the interplay and the wordplay all works really well. If I do have any complaints, it's that Bender comes across as underutilized in these initial issues. I mean, Zoidberg actually seems to get more airtime than him, and that's weird given Bender's prominence in the Futurama series. And Yeah, we're going to have to address a little elephant in the room here, as this past summer, Bongo Comics shut down. Um, Basically, they went out of business. I don't know if anyone else has picked up the Futurama license, and that means there's probably going to be some availability issues with this. I mean, again, I love this. You used to be able to find these things in Simpsons collections all over, say, the humor section of a Barnes& and Noble, but like I said, with Bongo no longer being around, I don't know if it's going to, well, be around anymore. I mean, the Futurama comics in general have actually switched to a digital-only format at this point as well, so I would love to just wholeheartedly recommend them, but again, because of the availability, I can't. I have to give Futurama-O-Rama a B. And with that, let's see what we'll be doing next time on the Random Trade Review. Remember, you can help support my work at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcatproductions, where you can request a trade to be placed in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box.